So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the fourth canto. King Puranjana goes to forest to hunt. And text 16. Okay. So, well, let me offer pranam mantras also. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalaka Chakshurumritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshta Bhutale Shrimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityananda Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharna Visheshna Paschati Vishtadne Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Okay, what did we discuss last time? Yes.
Last lecture we discussed that renunciation should not be in the frustration, it should be proper knowledge.
Okay, we spoke something about renunciation should not be in frustration but through proper knowledge. Okay, anything else? Why nobody makes notes or something? Why do we come for class unless we think that we can learn something from it? No? How are we going to learn just by hearing it once? No, but when you go for classes, when you're studying, why you don't make notes? You just come, okay, whatever. Let me just mark my presence. Is that the only thing that's important? So that's why we have to mark the points, not just the presence. Okay, anything else?
So you discussed that in the Vedic system, old people were an asset because of the knowledge they had, but now they are becoming burden.
Okay. Old people, assets, nowadays they're burden. What was that in relationship to? Why we were talking about that? Huh?
Also discussed that real mother requires devotional service and wife should help her husband in devotional service. Should be energy of.
Huh? What?
Like, the real mother represents devotional service.
Okay, what we were discussing last time is that home, unless there is devoted, devoted wife and or devoted mother and pleasant wife. Let me see, how is that? Yeah, it just says devoted wife. Okay, devoted wife and affectionate, let's put it this way, affectionate mother, then that home, it's no different than the forest. That's what we were discussing. So then what is home like? Then it's not home, then it's a house only, right? So we were discussing about that. And in terms then, when one gets old, what is life about? Like about? What is life like about? Then it's not very pleasant. It's not very nice. You're just a burden. Nobody wants you. Do you want any old people? You want to deal with old people? To some extent, everybody has experience, but we never considered that one day we will also come to that position, right? And then what? Then what? So if somebody doesn't have a knowledge, he said that Srila Prabhupada was different. He was also an old man, but he was more, enthusiastic, the more energetic, the more active than anybody else. And even if that wouldn't be the case, but still he had something to offer. What was that? That was Vedic wisdom. Wisdom you can't purchase. Wisdom you can't steal. Wisdom you can't gain by any other ways. Or some wisdom is realized knowledge. So that's why old age is an asset also. It's very important. And that's something that you can share them. But if all your life, you're just wasting your life doing so many different things, looking how you're going to gratify your senses, you won't gain any wisdom. And even if you have some wisdom now, you will lose that also, because in the process of sense gratification, everything becomes completely ruined, covered, destroyed. Any kind of wisdom, one just becomes like an animal. So therefore, that in old age, of course, we discussed about it anyway, to some extent. But the point is that we also have to be aware of it. And then at home, if everything is also just based on just certain attraction and bodily relationships, then there won't be any wisdom. There won't be any depth. Everything will be superficial. And then we said also, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left the home for higher cause. He had very devoted wife. He had very affectionate mother, and everything was perfect, so to say, from any kind of even materials and also spiritual standards in any sense. But he left for the higher cause. What is the higher cause? To enlighten other people. So that's the most wonderful. That's the most amazing. But of course, we can't expect such a position. We can't expect such a position, then everything will be wonderful. That's just a daydream and night dream. That doesn't happen in pretty much anyone's case. But whatever it is, if we act upon a example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and then renounce everything for the higher cause, that's something that is glorious, something that it's worthy of doing. Okay, any questions about this? Or we proceed with the next verse? Are there any other points? Why are you looking behind? I'm looking at you. Bolo, last Thursday, what happened? Where is your notebook? Forget. I forgot my soul. I forgot my heart. Yes.
Vidura was saying to Dhritarashtra that Vidura was saying to Dhritarashtra that you are like a dog, you are living on the remnants of your master.
Okay, yeah, we gave some examples. In Mahabharata. Dhritarashtra was very attached and so many things. Anyway, I won't repeat, but that was the point. So then he was very old and still attached to comforts of the royal life, in spite of whatever happened. All his sons were killed by someone who was providing him a royal life, so that was not a nice thing. It was not a proper consciousness. Anything else? Deepak, you remember something? But we just said that. Something else. No? Okay, anyway, so let's see today. What do we have? This text 16. Pravartate sa lalana machantam vyasanar nave yamam uddharate pragyam dipayanti pade pade. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Kindly let me know the whereabouts of that beautiful woman who always saves me when I'm drowning in the ocean of danger. By giving me good intelligence at every step, she always saves me. Purport. There is no difference between a good wife and good intelligence. One who possesses good intelligence can deliberate properly and save himself from many dangerous conditions. In material existence, there is danger at every step. In Srimad Bhagavatam it is said, Padam Padam Yad Vipadam Natesham. This material world is not actually a place of residence for an intelligent person, nor a devotee, because there is danger at every step. Vaikuntha is the real home for the devotee, for there is no anxiety and no danger. Of course, you can't die in the spiritual world. There's no danger there. So now Srila Prabhupada starts the purport, really. Now it says, it comes the essence. Good intelligence means becoming Krishna conscious. I remember once there was one devotee, anyway, he had some bad habits from before. And then he kind of, even after practicing devotional service, he went back to the West. And then still he started somehow or other, because of really being strong habits, started indulging in those bad habits again. But then somehow he got married, and that lady, she was a devotee. And she somehow managed to pull him away from those bad habits. Yeah. So then his spiritual master told him, "You are the only case I know that you have been saved by someone like this, with the opposite gender." In that way. Anyway. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said, Krishna ye bhaje se bada chatura. Unless one is Krishna conscious, he cannot be called an intelligent person. Oh, that's another big statement. Herein we see that King Puranjana, okay, maybe we'll break the purport because it's a long purport, so we'll just discuss this first part. So that will be, the text will be explained in the second part of the purport, where he's looking about that beautiful woman, that beautiful intelligence. Okay, so Srila Prabhupada is starting here saying that there's no difference between good wife and good intelligence. Now let's give some definitions. What is it? What it means? Good intelligence, it's already said, meaning becoming Krishna conscious. So then what it means good wife? What it means good wife? If good intelligence means Krishna consciousness, then what would be the meaning of the good wife? Huh?
Who doesn't speak?
Huh? Who doesn't speak too much?
Supporting her husband.
So what do you want, a stone in the home or something? What? No.
Doesn't speak too much.
Huh? Maybe some, how they call this, pratima. Yeah. Okay, Shiva,
The
bolo.
wife is in Krishna consciousness.
Wife is in Krishna consciousness. Okay. Yeah, good wife means wife it's in Krishna consciousness. What does that mean now? We have to discuss what it means Krishna consciousness, because there might be many misconceptions about that also. Krishna consciousness. Yes.
The relation should be, Krishna should be the center of the relationship.
Okay, Krishna should be the center of the relationship. Okay. Okay, fine. So, I mean, we don't have to make it some kind of extreme case or something, but in essence, that this is what it would mean. This is what it would mean to be Krishna consciousness. I'm a little bit tempted now. I don't know if I should dissect this point more in a positive manner or in a negative manner. Because if I do both, then the whole class is going to go on that. So let us just leave it. Maybe if somebody has any questions, and maybe we can discuss something. But let us just leave it on this. That in essence, this is what it means. That good wife is the one who represents Krishna consciousness. Because that's again what is, by definition, Srila Prabhupada is giving. Good intelligence means being Krishna conscious. And we see King Puranjana somehow or other, he seeked for the apparently now this kind of good intelligence. So one who possesses good intelligence can deliberate properly and save himself from many dangerous conditions. So we can take it both ways, of course. It can be literal and it can be analogous. So when one has good intelligence, then in one sense one might not need a wife. But if wife is already there, meaning if one is in Grihastha ashram, then that should be the case for a good Krishna conscious relationship. So how does Krishna give a good intelligence? What it means, good intelligence? How to gain good intelligence? There is one very prominent verse in Bhagavad Gita. Anybody might know? Huh? Yeah. Okay, follow on. What's it? Okay, nice. That's those who approach Krishna, right? Or those who serve Krishna. Krishna gives them intelligence how to approach him. So Krishna is giving us intelligence. It's not like nowadays, let's say if you want to become very strong, very powerful, where you start using all these different proteins and I don't know, weigh this and weigh that and I don't know what, all kinds of funny things, and use tablets and use, what else people use? Anyway, you know what people use, what is being used, all kinds of things, and then you will become powerful and you will become, you know, your muscles will be hard like a rock, or I don't know what else, or maybe you'll become taller, or maybe you'll become, I don't know, all kinds of things like this in relationship to body. So is it like this also with intelligence, that we can improve our intelligence by maybe, yeah, well, there are some kind of ideas of drinking certain herbs or using certain other remedies. So is that the way how you gain intelligence? Huh? What do you think? Is that the way that you can gain some intelligence? Artificially? By external means? Yes or no? This is a straightforward question now. Yes or no? Huh? Who says yes? Any hand? Think about it now. If yes, okay, who says no? Who is not sure? Okay, who is not sure? Raise your hand. What are you doing? What is this? Yes, or you raise both hands. Yeah. Okay, who is not sure? Okay, who is not sure is in better position than those who said no. Now, what about this? Sounds like very simple question, but it's not so simple. No one ever drinks cow's milk?
Yes.
There is some influence on the intelligence by drinking cow's milk. Srila Prabhupada said, if you drink pure cow's milk, it develops finer tissues, it nourishes the finer tissues of the brain. It enhances spiritual intelligence. It contains some beta-carotene substance, yellowish substance. That's why milk is, buffalo milk is completely white. You drink buffalo or any other, it's completely white. But if you drink cow's milk, why it's ghee, it's so yellowish, why is it? That's that substance. That helps, it nourishes the brain. If it's hot milk, it just nourishes the brain, goes up. Yeah? So there is also that kind of external influence. But in essence, it's not that now if you start just drinking milk, you become super, super intelligent or something. Maybe it's spiritual. It's not just now one gets into another extreme, but it helps. It does help. I was just talking to someone else. There was something I can say. say that pretty much, I mean, that's an obvious fact that people in Japan and China and all these eastern sides, they're not so inclined towards spiritual life. And I noticed that they don't drink milk. They don't drink cow's milk. They're pretty materialistic, pretty impersonalistic. They don't drink milk. They use soya milk and the tofu and so many other things like this. They don't have habit of utilizing milk and things like that. Mixed products. Anyway. So in one sense, yes, but then from another point of view, you really can't have like, I don't know, there is a limit to that. There is a limit to that. Real intelligence comes from Krishna. That's what we were quoting now. Krishna will give you real intelligence. Krishna gives us real intelligence because the way how to react and act in certain circumstances, points, that comes from Krishna. Those decisions pretty much come from Krishna. And you cannot enforce that. That's up to him. That's Krishna's mercy. That's pure Krishna's mercy. And this is why devotee surrenders fully to Krishna. Devotee becomes a medium. So let Krishna speak through me. That's what's devotee's position. So it's devotee is not like so proud that, sometimes people, they think if they learn certain kind of script or whatever, and they just stand in front of everyone and just kind of recite like a machine, then you consider, they're very learned, they just memorized. That's not how Krishna works. And that's not impressive at all. Or you see these big politicians. You see any one of them or whatever, they just come and they read. They will hardly ever speak from the heart. That's what they're not supposed to do. Because if they reveal their heart, nobody will follow them. That's obvious, no? That's another thing. Then they wouldn't be able to bewilder anyone. So it's not mechanical. In devotional life, it's not mechanical. We allow Krishna, we purify our heart. Devotional life means purification of the heart from lust, anger, greed, envy, madness, illusion, all the anarthas. And then when that is the case, then what happens? Then heart is pure. Krishna speaks through it. Krishna is using it as a medium. That's the intelligence. There's no greater intelligence than Krishna consciousness. And then whenever one is in certain circumstance or situation, whatever it might be, one might be tempted, maybe agitated, or whatever situation might be, then if one follows the instructions of Krishna, if one learns how to follow the instructions of Krishna, then he'll be saved. And then even furthermore, he'll be guided how to progress in spiritual life. That's the spiritual intelligence. That's the good intelligence. That's the Krishna consciousness. Yeah, being guided by Krishna. So that's why that's the good intelligence. So therefore, most often when there is discussion about husband and wife, husband might have, actually it acts in both ways. It acts in both ways. Both are protecting each other. Or culturally, they're supposed to protect each other. Because what may happen, and most likely does happen, because of lust, one or the other may tend to venture out of the marriage, experiencing their sense gratification, no? But then if they are in the marriage, then that's somehow it's protective. Somehow then they should serve to each other as some kind of reminder of Dharma or inspiration to follow the Dharma, or even restriction in the worst case for following the Dharma. So they should help each other like this. If that's the case. Of course, if one has even little Dharma to follow something, if it doesn't, then of course there's no question of any following of anything. Yeah, then it's just that it's not grihasta life, then that's called grihamedi life. Even not grihamedi life, it's called animal life practically, if there is no any culture. Yeah, grihamedi means he also follows some culture, even might follow spiritual life or Krishna consciousness, but just his center, it's griha. It's just sense gratification. And then following certain principles, he enhances this sense gratification. But grihasta means really it's not his main reason and principle is to satisfy Krishna, to follow Krishna. And then he also gets some sense gratification as a side effect, so to say, for his or whatever situation he's in. So that's why one should be supportive and helping each other in that sense. So that's a good intelligence. But that's, again, it's not an easy, it's not an often case. It's not an often case, unfortunately. See nowadays, especially how many the rates of divorce and so many other things. It just becomes, it's alarming. It's really alarming. So anyway, so there is a danger at every step. Prabhupada explained there is a danger, quoting from Srimad Bhagavatam, padam padam yad vipadam nate sham. There is a danger at every step. So this is material world. Of course, if you are in the material world, like he said here in Vaikuntha, there is no such danger because it's Vaikuntha, it's without anxiety. So one can try to make, to some extent, his home Vaikuntha. No? If at least there is some spiritual atmosphere. It's not quite identical, not even maybe close to that, but at least one may attempt to do that. One may attempt to do that. So when one practices Krishna consciousness, of course, problems will always be there, difficulties will always be there, challenges will always be there, but at least one can have an aim of reaching Krishna. That's what's progressive, that's what's good, that's what's worth all the trouble going through. That's the point. So there is a danger at every step. What does that mean, danger at every step? Danger at every step means Maya's everywhere. Lust is everywhere. It's everywhere. Lust is in your mind. Lust is in your intelligence. Lust is in your senses. That is within us. And then what to speak of, externally. It's just everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. So that's the greatest danger, actually. It's not just the danger for a body in some other ways, but the worst danger is the danger on the subtle level like this, which affects us even worse and in longer terms. So that's why how to prevent one from falling into that danger, oneself from falling into that danger. That's why we always have to have some association, some good association. Either we have good friends, either like this, you decide that somebody else is going to be your good friend, entering into certain relationship. But that's like, of course, nowadays, what is the level of commitment? What is the level of commitments? How many times I heard also, that, the best friends cheat each other. And it's always, and most often it's because of some lady. How many times that happens? Oh, so it's not safe. And again, even if one goes through such a process, ultimately, again, one has to develop attraction towards Krishna. There's nothing that will substitute for that. There's no substitute for Krishna consciousness, real Krishna consciousness, meaning relationship with Krishna. Everything else will or might help to some extent, positively or negatively. One will learn definitely lessons, but there is no other way but directly developing Krishna consciousness, developing relationship with Krishna. Once you have that, you don't need anything else. Nothing else is required. So therefore, there is a danger. And if we are in this world and we think there is no danger, then we are foolish, extremely foolish. Extremely foolish. One cannot even consider oneself being safe, even let's say in the temple now. Being in the temple. Being even in association of the devotees. But sometimes there was one sannyasi, and then he decided that he's going to marry, and then he said, by the mercy of Lord Gauranga, this is what is going on. That's a heavy mind. That's a heavy mind. And that was also in a holy place. So danger is everywhere at every step. So Maya can come. Anyway, there are many examples. We won't mention. We've had anyway. Some cases here also and like this. And Maya comes in various forms, various shapes. But Maya is state of our consciousness. Maya is state. This is what we were discussing last Saturday. Maya is state of our desire. What do we want? So it will just manifest, it will shape itself in this way or that way. What are we contemplating about? So danger is everywhere, it's already within us. What to speak of something that is there externally existing. So we have to be extremely, extremely cautious that we try to be Krishna conscious. Every moment we should be very cautious. Every moment. And we should not, it's like the example is given like Arjuna and Krishna, right? Arjuna and Krishna on the battlefield. Did Arjuna, what do you think? He kept his bow there and he just kind of started doing something else, talking to Krishna about whatever. Or when he was on the battlefield, what was he doing? He was very attentive, no? He was extremely focused. He was extremely attentive. Because if you're not, what happens? Huh? What happens? Head is off. Haribo, it's gone. You have to be extremely attentive. So that's why in this material world, wherever we might be, we still have to be extremely attentive to everything. We can't be negligent. We have to be focused on Krishna. Because any little attention, it's just like walking on the edge. Any little inattention, Haribo. Once I was there. Anyone from Gujarat here? Valsad or something? From Valsad, when you go interior towards Maharashtra, in the jungle, in the hills, there is one big waterfall. Somebody wants to see, I can show you photos. I have. It's a huge waterfall. It's really amazing. It's like, I don't know how many meters. Maybe I won't say, maybe minimum 30, maybe 40. It's huge. It's quite big. And then I was going just on top of it, and I became a little bit inattentive. I almost slipped, almost fell down. Almost. Somebody was talking something, I turned, I did. Not a good idea. Some or other balanced. So one should be very, very, how many times you hear, but nowadays, of course, people have selfie, all this nonsense, here and there. How many times you hear they fell from, I remember now, Colorado, that. So many people, they just fall down like this. Something happens because they're not conscious where they are. They're taking stupid selfie or something, I don't know what. And that's your last selfie, And it means nothing to you anymore anyway. What's the use? So material world is also like this. One should be extremely cautious every moment. And this is why once Srila Prabhupada went here in Mumbai, he went to the house of one very, very wealthy gentleman. He also had a deities in his home. And then Srila Prabhupada was praying like this for quite some time. And then devotees were wondering that, oh, Srila Prabhupada, what were you praying? What were you praying for? And then Srila Prabhupada said, I was praying to Krishna, please don't let me fall down. And then devotees were like, Srila Prabhupada, but they were thinking, but how come Prabhupada is a pure devotee? He cannot fall down. No? Well, why is he praying like this? Why is he praying like this? What do you think? Why was Srila Prabhupada praying? Think a little bit now. Why would Srila Prabhupada pray like this? He's a pure devotee. He's not going to fall down. But why was he praying like this? Think a little bit for a few moments. 1 second. I only those who raise hands. Vipin, I just asked your sister, why you're not still here. So you're suspended. Okay, Parikshit.
To give an example.
To set a standard, to give example. Okay, good guess. Good guess. Anything else? What was yours?
Because every time anyone can fall down, just like
every time everyone can fall down, just like who? Bharat Maharaj. Okay. But we said,
Teach the disciple that not to think that they will not fall in Maya.
Yeah, but that's what he said, same thing. To teach that they should follow example, whatever. Okay. So you know what? what the conclusion was? Devotees didn't ask Prabhupada then further, the conclusion, what they concluded is that because Srila Prabhupada is praying, he will never fall down. Because Srila Prabhupada is praying, he will never fall down. So if you have that attitude that you're always under Krishna's shelter, that you don't have puffed up some kind of false ego, mentality that, I'm now big devotee and then I'm chanting few rounds and I come to temple and I only eat prasad and nothing can ever happen to me. That's not good attitude. We should be always very humble and respectful towards the material energy. Material energy is, who are we? Material energy is Krishna's energy. Mama Maya Duratya. You can't overcome that energy unless one takes shelter of Krishna by Krishna's mercy. Word Maya, it's so powerful. In a moment, it can bewilder our mind. Hey, Narad Muni, that story? He asked Vishnu, can you show me Maya? And I say, you sure? Is that really what you want? Yeah, I want to see what is Maya. He was already in Maya. And then he went through all the Leela, being married and stuff, and then things happened. Anyway. In a second, you can be in Maya, and you might think, I'm not in Maya. That's the worst thing. Better it's sometimes to realize I am in Maya and maybe I should do something about it. Rather than we start thinking, no, I'm big devotee, I'm not in Maya. That is big Maya. That is big Maya. That is very dangerous. So therefore we should not expose ourselves to Maya. We should be very cautious about it. Maya is like also not necessarily directly manifested. Maya can manifest also in a very subtle ways. And one may become influenced and affected. And it's not necessarily by the blast of the Maya, something suddenly was exposed or this happened and that some of our senses have been affected. Not necessarily like this. It can be very subliminal. That means subconscious or very subtle. And one can be exposed to something, not even perceiving it maybe necessarily immediately, but later on that impression can turn to be a disastrous one. Just like a radiation, right? We give that example of a bomb, no? The blast, it's very effective, but the worst thing and more lasting thing is what? It's radiation that follows. So we have to be very cautious that Maya, wherever we go or whatever we are exposed to, that we don't allow Maya to affect us in any way. We should be always wearing some kavacha, some protective shield, some like they call that, inoculation should be there. Yeah. So what is that? How do we save ourselves from Maya? We said prayer is one thing. What is another thing? Yes. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. So we have to be very vigilant. We can't be casual. Absolutely can't be casual. That's the Krishna consciousness, because that's the point. It's like, who can always be alert, like kind of unnerved or just really be Krishna conscious. Am I Krishna conscious? Like whole day, am I Krishna conscious? No, I'm not Krishna conscious. How to do this? It's like, what kind of spiritual life is this? It's like you always have to think, am I Krishna conscious? Am I not Krishna conscious? Well, but that's in one sense. We have to think like this. We have to think, but then how? Not in that way, but always engaging ourselves in Krishna's service. Or always making sure that we are in association of devotees who will remind us of Krishna, even when we are not Krishna conscious. But we might think we are in a good environment. Somehow or other make sure that something will remind us of Krishna. That is the whole point of spiritual life. And of all other principles, these two are the most important. Satatam, what is that? Vismartavya na jatu chit sarva veda nisheda sur etayureva kinkara. At two principles. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Above all the other principles. So when that is the case and we chant Mahamantra, then we can have some hope, but by Krishna's mercy. It's Krishna's mercy. You know, like when Haridas Thakur, he was practically people being beaten to death. They can die on one marketplace. That was the punishment that somebody might have been exposed by moguls at that time, whatever it was. And then publicly somebody is beaten to death. But Haridas Thakur was dragged through 22 marketplaces. He didn't die. He didn't die. They couldn't kill him. They were whipping him and beating and trying to break his limbs, everything. They couldn't do it. No. And those very strong guards of Nawab, and then they became exhausted. They were exasperated. And now they became also on top of everything because they really used all their atoms of strength. On top of everything, they realized we didn't fulfill the instruction of our master. Now what will happen to us? So now they became alarmed. They became so worried. They became really so helpless. And then Haridas Thakur, seeing their condition, he said, okay, I will die now. He said, I will die now. Because you're so, just to benefit them. Can you imagine somebody who treats you like this and then, you even show mercy to them in such a way to benefit them? That's impossible. That's inconceivable for us. But that's Haridas Thakur. He's Namacharya. Yeah. So then he pretended that he didn't pretend. He actually entered the trance. He entered the trance, and then they really, checked his pulse. How you say, Chala gaya? No, khatam ho gaya. I say. So then they took him like this, and of course, because only good Muslim would be buried, so they thought he wasn't good. He was chanting Hare Krishna, so let us, throw him in the Ganga. And they just threw him in the Ganga. And then he was floating. And then after some while, floating like this, when his body reached the other shore, touched that shore, and then Haridas Thakur, awoke from the trance. I said, "To Haribo," he woke on the other side and left. So, what is the point of the story? How did he survive that treatment? How did he survive? Later on, it is described. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him. It's very interesting. You'll find in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we discussed that on Wednesday. That's tomorrow. How so many times Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discloses himself to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, knowing what happened to someone in some cases and how he was instrumental to that. So then he said, I kept my bag on top of your bag. And all these lashes and whips and beatings, actually, I was receiving. And then he showed him the bag. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was protecting his devotee. So if one acts in the service of Krishna, one will be protected. But one should be extremely cautious, not misusing that. If I tell you what is going on in the Western world, how devotees are risking their Krishna consciousness, of course, in many other places also. It's not just through lust or something. There are many other places. There are many other dangerous places in so many other ways. Devotees risking to present this knowledge of Krishna consciousness. And how is Krishna protecting? And many devotees have so many realizations. Or they have been protected by Krishna. Because anything could have happened. And then last moment this and that, and so many things happen. Anyway, we don't have much time now. But the point is Krishna will protect. Krishna does protect. So in the same way, when we talk about this is this, padam padam yad vipadam natesham. Every step there is a danger. So there is a danger. So it's not just danger that we kind of perceive it as some kind of gross danger. It's so many subtle dangers, so many other, any kind of danger. But if we try to dedicate our life, we try to serve Krishna, we try to somehow be Krishna conscious, spread Krishna consciousness, then we'll see Krishna will protect. How did Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, he went on the ship having 2 heart attacks. He said nobody would have survived this. Even in the West, he had another one. So many troublesome conditions. But Krishna saved. And Srila Prabhupada said actually, yes, that Krishna extended my life for 10 years. So Krishna can do anything. What to speak of so many other things that one might be exposed and then threatened in his Krishna consciousness. So, but that's why we have to become Krishna conscious in a sense of taking shelter of Krishna. It's not necessary, like in the beginning I've been talking, what was my point? My point was that it's not by external efforts. It's not that I exercise that much, therefore I'll be powerful. It's not that in terms of practicing Krishna consciousness, it's not a mechanical thing. It's not. To some extent, some mechanics can, add to it or help us. But no, that shouldn't be the consciousness. It's not our own effort. Our only effort is to take shelter of Krishna. Our only effort is to pray to Krishna, to surrender to Krishna. Okay, Krishna, do with me whatever you want to do. That I become your instrument, but not instrument of mine. That's the challenge in devotional life. So surrendering to Krishna. Surrendering to Krishna and making oneself an instrument of Krishna. Nimitta matra bhava savya sachi. That's the challenge. That's a good intelligence. That's a good intelligence. That's what Krishna says. I've preserved whatever one has and I add whatever one lacks. Ananyas chintayam tamam yejana paripasati. Whatever we require in the spiritual life, it's not that now, or sometimes people think, okay, I will chant certain stotras, I will chant certain mantras, I will do certain yagyas, I will do certain tapas, I don't know what I will have to do. And that's what's going to make me super spiritual and become super bhakta. Shiva, super bhakta, going here, doing this, always doing service and plucking flowers and doing all kinds of things. Latest to sleep, earliest to get up, so many things. No, that's not going to work. It's a surrender. Of course, endeavor to surrender. That's what's wanted. Endeavor to surrender like this. That's what's wanted. That kind of enthusiasm, that kind of passion. That's what's wanted. But of course, being guided by Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, not whimsically. Not whimsically. I was just now. Anyway, I have to see who is there. If Krishna really wants us to do something in spiritual life, even, he will definitely sanction that. He will allow that things will manifest. But if he starts speculating on our own, okay, I'll tell you what happened. There was somebody who was not supposed to do something. And he agreed to that. And then still he did it. I found out. I found out. Yeah. So the person was exposed. And so then we had a discussion, then why is this? So we agreed to something else. And the point is that, if we do something whimsical, on our own, whatever it is, we don't follow any line of authority, we just become super independent. Ultimately, sooner or later, that's going to be exposed and it's not going to be very good for us. It's not going to be good. But for that reason, somebody is advising us in a different way. Because, we cannot be our own lawyer. One who is one's own lawyer has a fool for its client. That's the saying. So if we want to be our own guides in spiritual life, but it's not the best idea. We always do things, we think this is the best, but actually it's just covered sense gratification within Krishna consciousness. We think it's very Krishna conscious, but it's not. It's our sense gratification. I'm using Krishna for my prestige, sense gratification, whatever it might be, doesn't matter. So many different subtle, gross things, lava, puja, pratishtha, I'm using Krishna for that. I just want, or I want to have certain experience. I want to go to a certain place. I want this, I want that, whatever it might be. And you don't follow, then it's not a good idea. It's not that Krishna doesn't want you, Guru doesn't want you, authority doesn't want you. They always try to see what is really good for you. But the ultimate principle is the principle of following. Principle of following. And then if it is good for you, why would Krishna stop you? Why would Krishna forbid something? Why would Krishna deny something? He doesn't do that. He doesn't do that. And ultimately, it did so happen that Krishna did sanction that. It was interesting. Anyway, quite a number of coincidences. You may say coincidences, but they are not, overlap together. Yeah. So that's why it just has to be surrendered. Okay, whatever Krishna wants me, let me do it. And that's, of course, I know that's not easy, but that's spiritual life. If you don't have that, you don't have spiritual life. You have your own whimsical doing this and doing that, and you think, I'm going to do this. But then in the course of that, of course, you do so many other things which, ruin your spiritual efforts actually, because you don't really know how to do things, although you think that you're very confident and you know how to do. So that's at least something. One should learn how to follow some principle of authority. Because the authority is a medium of Krishna. It's interesting. Authority might not be all-knowing, and it's not all-knowing, but Krishna within the heart, somewhere or other. It's interesting how it works. It's interesting how it works. That principle of Guru Tattva is just amazing. It's one of the most inconceivable principles. Can't figure it out how it works, but it works. It's amazing. It's amazing how it functions. So therefore, good intelligence means really being Krishna conscious, being guided properly, taking shelter of Krishna. And therefore, whatever one's situation might be, should be Krishna conscious. And then one is saved from any kind of danger in this world. But one has to develop proper attitude. And the most important one, it's proper attitude towards following the authority. Then you see how Krishna responds. Then Krishna will give intelligence. Krishna will give everything, whatever is necessary. Krishna wants us to come back to him more sooner than what we want. So that's Krishna consciousness. Okay, any questions on this? And then we have a few minutes. We finish the second part of the purport. Any questions on this? No, everything is so clear. Next Thursday, when asked, what do you remember from this class, you're going to remember something. If you don't know down and don't remember, then really, again, same thing, what's the benefit?
How to learn the instructions.
How to learn Krishna consciousness.
Instructions of...
How to learn instructions. What does that mean? Don't do that. Huh?
You have to follow the instructions, but we forget the instructions.
We have to follow the instructions.
We forget the instructions.
We forget the instructions. That means you don't value the instructions, you don't value the relationship, and what's the use of it? No? So you have to start valuing something. Then we'll benefit, otherwise you won't. Okay. Herein we see that King Puranjana was searching after his good wife, who always helped him out of the dangerous situations that always occur in material existence. As already explained, the real wife is Dharma Patni. That is, a woman accepted in marriage by ritualistic ceremony is called Dharma Patni, which signifies that she is accepted in terms of religious principles. Children born of Dharma Patni or a woman married according to religious principles inherit the property of the father. But the children born of a woman who is not properly married do not inherit the father's property. That's a cultural example. If you're married within if you're born within a married life, you inherit the property of your father, but if you're just you have your father but you're not within that marriage, you won't get anything. The word Dharma Patni also refers to a chaste wife. A chaste wife, it's one who never had any connection with men before her marriage. How many you can find nowadays? for marriage. That's the case. That's a very psychological thing. Very psychological thing. Because it's proof that those who had relationship before the marriage, it's most unlikely that they will remain within that marriage. Because their mind won't be fixed on one person. And very likely they won't be dharma patnis. They won't be chaste. Once a woman is given the freedom to mingle with all kinds of men in her youth, it is very difficult for her to keep chaste. See? She generally cannot remain chaste. When butter is brought into proximity of fire, it melts. The woman is like fire, the man is like butter. But if one gets a chaste wife, accepted through a religious marriage ritual, she can be of great help when one is threatened by the many dangerous situations of life. Actually, such a wife can become the source of good intelligence. With such a good wife, the family's engagement in the devotional service of the Lord actually makes a home a grihastha ashram, or household dedication to spiritual cultivation. But that's a challenge. That is a challenge. That's not easy to do. Because ashram is also an ashram. It's not just, I go and work and center point is just to bring money to home. No, that's not the center point. Center point is interactions also, but you won't have also interactions either if you don't have Krishna conscious centered life. So that's another big topic. Okay, I guess we can stop here now. Any final comments, questions? Was there anything that wasn't understood? Yes.
There's a part where you mentioned that you shouldn't lose your focus and concentration.
Okay.
Because that would lead to industry.
Yes.
Suppose if you are losing it, how do you get it back on track?
So that's another point. Either by good association, because most time when we're losing focus, we are not conscious that we are losing it, right? It happens after, like, what is our daily experience when we chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra? And then mind reminds us something in connection to chanting, whatever it might be. And then it connects to something in connection to what was connected. And then further connection. Then in a moment you're somewhere else. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So mind tricks us like this. So anything we do in devotional service, mind will just immediately, somehow or other, it will find something. That's his business. So therefore, when we are in good association, then we see that others are doing what we're supposed to be doing. It reminds us. It reminds us. Or even if it becomes more acute by us doing something, who knows what we're not supposed to do, then devotees are so kind and they will point to that, hey, maybe what you said and maybe what you're doing, it's not really Krishna conscious, Maybe you should consider that. So association is our only hope. There's no hope of practicing spiritual life alone. We are absolutely disqualified from it. It's only in good association. That's why Prabhupada says, why we have such a big place and this and that. It's just that we can come and associate together and take advantage of it. Okay. Okay, 9 o'clock, then we'll end here. Shlo Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gautama Nande, Hari Hari Bol.